Morning if you're in JA. Afternoon if you're in other parts of the world. This is The Public Eye and The Open Mind. I'm Ronnie Thwaites. Reliving a tradition which began in 1973, with The Public Eye. This is 2021. Do the math yourself. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, November the 10th. 44 days left in 2021. Boy, I wonder if we can achieve all that we set out to do in that time. The Bridge, 99. Encouraging dialogue between Jamaicans and Jamaica lovers all over the world. That's the key to this particular station. That's what makes it special. All right? Vibesing the culture, vibesing the narrative, telling the story, cherishing the people, pointing the way to a better life, encouraging everybody to link in and to recover and to recreate all that is good about this nation. We bring the issues straight to you. No slander, no gossip, just facts. When we talk about people, you see, it's only to illustrate a point, a more general position of principle. That's how talk show business should run. All this trace-off business that come with social media and with some of us on talk radio, yes, that doesn't serve any purpose. It's just frothy and egotistic. We're no business with that at all. Life is too short. We'll continue to explore some societal problems, always with an open mind, always anxious to hear from you and making sure to want to seek solutions. Now, this morning on Early Rise, hey, that's another program we're doing, and that's interesting. Yes, myself, I'm a retired PNP member of Parliament. I'm still an active member of that party. And the Honourable Pernell Patro Charles Sr., Rockstone Liberite, 11 instances and sessions of public service. What did he say? 2 in the KSAC, 2 in the Senate, and the remainder in Parliament. And lose 2 elections and win plenty. Yes? But nonetheless, we get together across party politics, across race, across religious affiliation, and we just lift up the nation and try to agree with each other, come to a resolution on points where we initially disagree. Yes? In order that a Jamaica may be created that works for all and not for some. That people don't have to run away in order to make good in their lives. Yes, this place can satisfy all if we just put aside the selfishness, put aside the tribalism. So how's that? This morning we linked up with Dr. Garnet Roper, well-known Jamaican preacher and public commentator, an activist. He's in Zambia, and he was telling us about that country, telling us about how so much is like Jamaica and so much is unlike Jamaica. Plenty poor people, but no violence or little violence. Yes, the prospects of that country to look at agriculture as being their way forward beyond mining of copper. Yeah. Well, later on in the program, we're going to be linking with Michael Duncan. He's in New York, and he's a Garveyite. Garvey had 2 visions. One, of people standing on their own 2 feet and cooperating with each other for their betterment. And also, the linkage with the continent of Africa. Michael Duncan in New York, trying to reincarnate those sentiments, those vibes. We'll talk to him. Before that, earlier, we're going to be talking to our friend and, in my view, one of the most experienced and acute economic commentators in Jamaica, Ralston Hyman, the conceptualizer, promoter, producer, and presenter of Real Business on Power 106. And I want to ask him a simple question. How Jamaica look? How does Christmas look, How does Christmas look for the Jamaican people? Food price has gone up about 13% in the last little while. Okay, no credit for agriculture. The Agricultural Society and the bankers both say, and we who are so derivative of the United States markets have to notice what's happening there. Big supply chain log jams. At the same time, people buying up a whole heap of stuff because of the stimulus money. Well, we don't have that, So we have to check out the state of the economy of important interest, both to those of us who live here and those who live abroad. I'm looking on the CNN tracker here. A judge sentences a QAnon shaman, that's the guy who was in charge. Remember, he dressed up in that funny headdress, to 3+ years in prison. Yes, this was a man, yes, who took on the American government. This is a man who wanted to create a coup in the United States of America. Watch him, carrying a flag, dress up like a fox, sit down in the speaker's chair, right? Get 3 and something years in prison. Should I get more? Yeah? You can't do that. That is treason. Treason. Invade the House of Congress, yes, and try to take it over. That's what they were doing on January the 6th, with the support of, active and passive, of the man who was then the president of the United States, a loser, yes? And they're trying to make light of that. And we in Jamaica drop our jaw and hold our breath, because we cannot operate our business that way. Look at us. Since 1944, how many elections? And we never try to overturn that. And we never use violence to maintain a particular political regime. We have a lot of violence connected with politics. God no. Less now, thank goodness. Less now, much less now. But we could have never expect that in the United States, and we can't follow back of them. All right, thanks for being part of the Bridge Nation by tuning in to the Bridge 99.13579, and that's on the FM dial. And of course, you can catch our live stream at www.thebridge99fm.com. I'm going to repeat that for you. Thebridge99fm.com. Check us on the WhatsApp text line, 876-551-5782, and our studio line, 876-676-4996. Repeat that for you, 876-676-4996. Okay, well, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government has no plans to shut down the country again, as Jamaicans must now face living with what is now an endemic phase. That means it hitch up in our culture, our DNA, yes? What is now an endemic phase of the novel coronavirus spread. Prime Minister is right. Okay, we can't afford a lockdown again. But what we have to do is to take it as cautious as we can, you know? Or we have to get the children back to school. So I don't like the fluffy talk and then the little action. He made the declaration despite noting that the government expects and is preparing for a possible 4th wave of infections. Yes, just after the Christmas season. Well, as we discussed earlier this morning with the Honourable Pernell Charles, yes, people must have sense and recognize that vaccination is not something new in Jamaica. All Jamaicans, in order to go to school, had to present a vaccination certificate at some point, except for very few with verifiable medical conditions. Still, that's possible. And we simply cannot shut down the country and have to live in fright because some people wish to continue to make themselves vulnerable and to therefore make the rest of us vulnerable. So the general direction of opening up the economy, while at the same time maintaining caution, because we do not want the fourth wave to drown us, then this is the correct way to go. Prime Minister has noted that some cases of exposure to the novel coronavirus have been reported since half of the island's primary schools have resumed face-to-face, but there is no turning back. And where people are careful, there is no reason why there should be any outbreak there. So let's be cautious, but let's realize that there is a greater or as great a threat, which is the continued exclusion from school of the vast majority of our students and all of the difficulties that come from there. This is a station that is designed and dedicated to linking Jamaica and Jamaican lovers all over the world. We broadcast especially to people who have taken their lives abroad, who are trying their very best in order to make a life that relates to what they do in Jamaica. How much money, did you see the Gleaner today, how much money the Jamaicans are sending back in remittances? They really hope of the country right now? What is propping up the foreign exchange rate? What is providing the net international reserves that are so healthy? What is providing any kind of hope for people who have a peeps abroad and just need something to buy food or to send a kid to go to school or pay a light bill, all these things. So we want to link the diaspora. So you have a philosophy that Jamaica is not only curtailed by its natural boundaries around the sea, but has a reach, a necessary, a spiritual and economic connection with people abroad. No wonder we want to have a conversation with our friend Ralston Hyman of Real Business on Power 106. Ralston, morning. Is he there?
I'm here.
Hi, man. Great. Can hear you now.
Yes.
Greetings. Thanks for joining us. We hope we can trespass on your time every month or so just to get, for our listeners, principally those in the diaspora, Ralston, just a fix on where the Jamaican economy is. Where is it going from your perspective? The big question I have to ask you, how Christmas look for the ordinary Jamaican, Mr. Hyman?
Well, for the ordinary Jamaican, what is it that we're going to get is this whole thing about Christmas salt. When I see no Christmas, the price them too high, and when I have the money and the crime too high. So that's the kind of Christmas that you're going to get.
Yeah. Wow, why?
Well, what we're seeing is that the prices continue to climb. We see the exchange rate continue to trade down 156.40, and we see the criminality taking hold, and we see the declaration of 7 more states of emergency.
So, hold on now. People who have job trying their best to keep it, trying their best to make the 7,500 or 200 spread and multiply. Jesus couldn't do better than some of our people and multiply loaves and fishes, Ralston Hyman. So why this extra pressure? Why is food prices, did I hear, gone up by about 12, nearly 13% in the last little while?
Because of the whole thing in relation, two factors, the global supply chain problems and the movements in the exchange rate. Those are the two triggers of the high prices at this particular point in time.
What can we do about the global supply chain? That one, our hands are tied, aren't they?
Very little that we can do. So when you raise interest rates domestically, you do nothing to control that problem. What you're doing is compressing demand. So those who are already poor and couldn't buy anything, they'll be in a worse position now.
Explain that for me. Because if you raise the interest rates, as the Bank of Jamaica has done, and the financial institutions will follow, what does that mean? That when we're importing something, Grace Kennedy or Mussons or whoever is importing something, and they borrow money in order to do it, they have to add a higher price for the interest.
Precisely. They have to pay more, and then there's the exchange rate problem again, because they say they price $10 higher than the official rate. So all those pressures come to the consumer.
But no,
and it has no impact on the supply chain problems that are driving up the prices internationally. So it's a futile exercise.
When Floyd Green was Minister of Agriculture, and both you and I know had high hopes, for his energy. One of the ways that I thought would take time, but one of the ways I thought could mitigate our dependence on imports would be that we were producing particularly more food items for ourselves.
Yes. But I haven't seen that taking place. And what we're seeing is that when we looked at the figures released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, we saw agricultural exports only representing 5% of the total exports. That's $44 million from $908 million. And we saw the consumer import bill at $803 million US, the fuel bill at $838 million US and climbing.
Whoa! So we are still spending what, 4 times more on
about 3, yeah. 3 times
more on importing stuff than we are exporting.
Right.
Yes, and the diet for the ordinary Jamaican. Listen up, diaspora. The Jamaican diet is still heavily import based.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely, and we still have the problem with fuel. You know?
Well, we're coming to that, but on the food is our everyday business, huh?
Yeah,
and granted, fuel affects food, but the truth is that people have to buy something to eat, or else they're going to die of starvation. Thank God that isn't happening. But life is being really tough unless we can depend more on our local production and hold the price for that.
Precisely, and that is why we need to see more efforts in terms of policy in that direction, but we are not seeing any. what we're seeing is that the market is just being allowed to do what it wants to do, and it's easier and cheaper to import. So we see the imports slowing, and we see very little taking place in terms of domestic production.
Hold on now. It's cheaper short term, Ralston. But
sure, yes, but those are important. But it's long term
more
for the country down the road.
Yeah, got you. So that's quite clear.
It's a lazy strategy,
Yeah. Well, I mean, with all affection for my senior friend Audley Shaw, we haven't seen or heard any kind of impulse, new thought, new initiative in agriculture for months now. Nothing. Wow. Okay. Then now let's go to the fuel then, because we are heavily dependent on fuel for electricity and for transportation, huh?
And those prices are not going to come down anytime soon.
That's
the international reaction coming even from President Biden. Those prices are not going to come down anytime soon. Gasoline price in the U.S. up by almost 50%. Jamaica's fuel bill is up by 65% in 7 months.
Say it again for me. Jamaica's fuel price is up
by 65% in 7 months.
65% in 7 months.
Yeah.
But that is intolerable. That's unacceptable. Precisely. But what is amazing to me is that there appears to be muted reaction to it. What is it?
Nothing is happening in that regard.
Yes. Whoa, I remember the fuel riots of years back.
Yeah.
For a few pence or cents on the fuel at the time. Now, right now, the government can't afford for the fuel price to go down, can it? Because a whole heap of the revenue is collected from that.
Precisely.
Okay, it's about what 40% of the of the money you pay for a liter of fuel
is government tax.
Is tax. So and it's all ad valorem. So every time the price go up, government get a bigger money.
Precisely.
Okay.
So fiscal policy is hampering the development of the renewable energy industry because there's still a 20% duty on some renewable energy sources. There's still this amount of tax on the fuel bill and all of those things on the fuel prices. So there's no incentive to move into the renewable energy sector, and that is affecting the nation because the fuel bill is running very fast. So these sectors, in terms of what we're importing, raw materials, fuel, they're moving faster than the recovery in the tourism sector. So we are heavily dependent on the remittances that come from overseas in order to balance these accounts.
Coming to that, Ralston, but help me on the fuel before you go. One is, I mean, surely then what we should see is solar farms, wind farms being invested heavily in and cropping up all over Jamaica?
Precisely. What we're doing, we're still taxing the people to do these things rather than promoting them.
And we've had a couple of very good projects, but we need to double and treble them, don't we?
Lot more.
Okay. Yeah. And as far as the transportation fuel is concerned, that it seems to me is going to be on a upward price spiral, not only because of international conditions, but because we have not rationalized public transportation in this country. We have equated chaos with the best we can do.
That's the point.
Expensive chaos.
Yes, that's the point.
Boy.
That's the point.
If you look at Jamaica from a drone and you consider these things, you think we're stupid. We're not stupid. We can do better than that.
Wonder why we do these things. Yeah. Why we do these things. Yeah, that's the point.
So okay, let's look at the antidotes now. First of all, on tourism, the Observer, the other newspapers, but the Observer, which we know they're bent, is very bullish on tourism. With cruise ships are supposed to come back whole heaps, and we're to have the best winter season. I hope things do get better. I hope those are realized. But I wonder, are you confident that tourism can pick back up the slack that it had before COVID very quickly?
No, it can't. As Minister Bartlett said, in 2022, the end of 2022, we'll be back to where we were in 2019. But what we're seeing in terms of the foreign exchange burn in relation to fuel and food, those things, the trade deficit is moving faster than the improvements in the tourism sector, and that is why we are so heavily dependent on the remittance flows.
Well, take me to
fuel bill and the food bill; those things are moving faster than the recovery in tourism.
But then I'm reading from some of the financial commentators that they feel that the very heavy inflows of remittances are not likely to be sustained? How do you feel?
I do not see that either. So we saw a big drop in September, 16.8% or 45 million in September. So that is something that the policymakers must look at with a view to building out the productive sector in terms of food for the domestic market in order to cut that bill, as well as to go deeply into renewable energy to cut the fuel bill, because that's the most dangerous one at this particular point in time. That is what is driving the global inflation, apart from the supply chain bottlenecks. Fuel prices in the U.S. up by 50%. Yeah.
The economic word coming out of the United States, though, is that despite supply chain blockages, despite shortage of retail items, people are spending heavily. Now, it's perhaps, is that seasonal only? Is that spurred on only by the kind of stimulus that was put out? Is that likely to allow the space for the person who was sending $200 a month to their family in Jamaica to continue that?
Well, there's a very good point you're making there, because the difference between the U.S. consumer and the Jamaican consumer is that the U.S. consumer, they are saying that prices are high, but we have money. In Jamaica, the consumer is saying prices are high, but we have no money and no jobs. That's the big difference in the U.S., and that is why the Federal Reserve Board, in terms of its policy initiatives, they say they rather to err on the side of caution. That is, they are rather focusing on the jobs market, creating more jobs than inflation immediately. They'll allow inflation to run a little in order to put more people into work, rather than to raise the interest rates and put people out of work. That is why they tolerate an inflation rate of 6.2%, although their target range is 2%, because they're saying this is transitory. This will come down sometime in June or September of next year.
Temporary.
Yeah, so at this particular point in time, we rather see the people working, and they're saying the prices are high, but we have money, rather than the situation in Jamaica where the prices are high and the people have no money and no jobs.
The inflation results up to October, recently released, indicated that it was in the 8% plus, which is considerably
8.5%,
considerably higher than what the Bank of Jamaica had predicted. Why, and what are the consequences?
Right. The Bank of Jamaica's target range is 4 to 6. So if you use the top of the range, 6, we're like 2.5 percentage points higher than the Bank of Jamaica's top range. If you look in the U.S., the Federal Reserve Board target is 2%. Now they're at 6%. They are 3 times higher than their target range. But they are saying they are not going to panic and raise the rates because they want to put more people to work, because it is better that the people have money and say the prices are high, but we have money, rather than people are saying the prices are high and we have no money, because the moves by the central bank to hike interest rates, those moves are not going to have any impact on the supply side problems that are generating inflation. It's not going to have any impact on fuel prices globally. It's not going to have any impact on the supply chain problems. What it is going to do is to reduce the ability of the Jamaican consumer to purchase goods and services. What they're using is a demand management tool to contain a supply side problem. So what is going to happen is that the consumers are going to feel it. They are not going to get any ease in terms of prices, but they'll be out of work. They'll have to pay more for their car loans. They'll have to pay more for their mortgage loans.
Those who can afford those things. Ralston, Hyman, while we are talking about a bleak Christmas for the majority of Jamaicans, the financial sector, the corporate sector in Jamaica is declaring record high dividends, most of them, and they are and profit margins. This economy is skewed, even when it is recovering, even when everybody is stretching out. Is only some people benefit and the rest must suck salt? Is that the case forever?
But that's what is happening. So they benefit from the high prices because they pass it on to the consumer. They're also telling the consumer that they're going to pass more price increases on to them.
Yes, the chicken people are telling us just that right now.
Yeah, exactly. And the banks are telling us that too. So it is the consumer all the way. So at some point in time, the consumer's ability to purchase will be severely constrained. Those who are already poor will get poorer. Those who are destitute will get more destitute. And then the whole thing about survival and the antisocial behavior and the criminality that leads to the state of emergency.
As if that can...
inequities in the system are driving the emergency policies.
Yeah, but
rather than deal with those inequities, we are dealing with emergency.
Well, this is it. We don't deal with the inequities, but what we do is to fool ourselves to think that the suppression can really overtake those inequities.
Precisely.
And they cannot.
That's the point. And evidence is there. So this is the third year of the emergency, and you still apply them again because they are not working, because you are not dealing with the inequities that are causing the problems. In fact, you are reinforcing them.
Well, there's no...
When you raise the interest rates, that's what you do.
There's no sign even of the consciousness about it.
Precisely.
Final question. Why, when we last spoke, the exchange rate was 147? Yeah? Now it's 104. It's brushing 157. Why that happened, Ralston Hyman?
Well, as we told the people at that time, that it would not hold because what was happening is a sheer manipulation. There's another central bank apart from the official central bank that manipulates the exchange rate, and the other players in the market respond to the initiatives of that central bank more than they respond to the initiatives of the official central bank.
Well, sir, wow, and so is they control things now?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
You don't need chains anymore around people's feet and around their necks. What you do is just put chains around their pockets.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. And because in a market, money is the important thing.
Right. And then what you do
is you deny those same people money by raising the interest rates.
Yes. And then what you do is give them two sweetie and show the picture of you hugging them up. Yes. As if that
charity for equity.
Charity in place of equity. Ralston Hyman, thanks for your directness and for your analysis. We'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure.
All the best. Good, Ralston Hyman. By all means, one of the strongest economic analysts in Jamaica, joining us. You hear what he says about Christmas, diaspora? You hear what he says, people locally? Don't lose heart, you see, but understand that the system as is presently manipulated, yes, seems to be impervious of the government even doing anything about it. They appears, as Garnet Roper said this morning, to be in the thrall, in the control of some big money interests, yes? And we must all be happy and sing Jamaica, land we love, yes? This is the Public Eye and the Open Mind on the Bridge, 99 FM. Caller, good morning.
Good morning. Look like I have to check for Private Eye to follow you up. Right? You dip and switch for me this morning, sir.
Listen to me. It's not Private Eye you need. It's 4-eye.
All right.
You're a 4-eye man. How you do, sir?
I'm doing fine. It's a lovely day. I'm trying to embrace as much of it as I can.
Boy, isn't it wonderful? They put us in the Garden of Eden, you know, just that we are as bad and as contradictory as the serpent.
Yes. The serpent. I don't want to deal with him too tough at all.
But as beautiful as Eve.
Yeah. So no, this is your regular time now, 12 to what?
12 to 2, because
12 to 2.
Remember that the primary audience, though we're glad for you in Jamaica, is with the diaspora. So since they come off daylight saving time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. You have a proper motive now. That can pass. Legislator will pass.
Thank you, sir.
Boy, hey, I enjoy to hear you speak, even from years gone by. But more so now that you come out of the constrictor board, gullet. Oh, seriously, can you add some constraints there? I don't know how much of it is left, right? But you must do some coaching,
Yes?
Them young people coming along, they look quite ready,
Well, when you know better, you do better, don't you? And
yeah,
I tell you.
But is the knowing is the thing. The knowing, the appreciation, and how you position yourself to utilize it.
Yeah.
Not in a selfish way.
No.
But we can't help this country if we don't have institutions and organizations that are wholesome and forward-looking. Mm-hmm. And stop all the shenanigans that's going on in them.
But then spare time with me. How do we build either build from scratch or rebuild institutions. You know, Prime Minister Holness always says that institutions change culture. So therefore, I'm very anxious to reach out, to learn and to share with the institutions in the diaspora. For example, later on, I'm talking with a man who is the principal of the Garveyite institution in New York. I'm interested in what the schools and the churches and the business organizations are doing. How do we pull that together?
Yeah. Well, there is a need for it. We need to do a serious reset, right? If you can use a term like
that.
Right? I'm looking forward for the rest of the midway of the 21st century and beyond. Right? Because we have you're talking to Garvey, man, you say?
Yes. President of the UNIA in the United States.
Yeah, what time would that be?
Little after 1 o'clock.
After 1, I'll make sure I make myself able to listen, because what Garvey had to say,
Duncan.
what Garvey had to say and spoke about, if we get our reasoning in that vote, we can help ourselves.
I think so.
Rather than sit down and expect Big Brother up so for help. And all him want to do is keep we where we are, so then can push them foot harder in our necks.
But isn't there an irony, Mr. Jigsaw, that we have declared Marcus Garvey a national hero, and yet we refuse to first of all learn what he really taught and thought, and that of which we know. That he taught and thought, we adamantly refuse to bring it into practice, except in the most superficial, fluffy ways, which really don't take our people anyway. No.
But you see, one of the mistakes we're making, we're people who wish to see us utilize at least some of it.
Yeah.
The children can benefit for it, two levels.
Yeah.
From them at kindergarten,
Yeah.
they're supposed to learn it by like a nursery rhyme method.
Yeah.
And further on, what we've been trying to do is said we can't expose the people who are not about it till you get to tertiary institution. That's late.
Yeah, I agree.
Late and too late.
In fact, that's very good advice. I have something to do with early childhood education in some portion, and it is very significant that we should engage them. And this is not cancel culture. This is not wokeness or whatever the Americans want to call it. This is embracing the truth about ourselves, or who we are created to look like, what are our values. And you're right. It has to be.
Whole image. I wasn't into education more so for this conversation.
No, but you got it.
But you carry me there, and I know you have a weighted interest.
Yes.
The funds that are identified now for this extra 2-year thing.
Yeah.
Fine. We come from all of a sudden, it don't matter. It's here.
I doubt it.
But my suggestion is that those funds should be apportioned 40% for early childhood, 40% for 30% for primary, and 30% for
secondary.
For what?
Secondary,
right?
Yeah. Well,
what do you say to that?
No, I agree with you. We have given lip service to early childhood, but we haven't made the investment sufficiently. Certainly, the state does not. A lot of parents, a lot of churches, a lot of private people, trusts who have supported early childhood have made it what it is. Now, if we have more capital, and I'm not sure like you, I'm not as sure as you that the money is there. It's easy to talk about getting $1 billion next year. When I look at the capital budget that is projected for education next year, I don't see it, sir.
I think they're leaning on something from somewhere that they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it now because they're coming to it late.
But if I were a teacher in an early childhood institution, getting $40,000 or less a month, yes, and having to contemplate whether I stayed in that field where I'm good, or I look to go work in a BPO or migrate. I wouldn't be happy with the suggestion that maybe they will find the money from somewhere,
No, it's not maybe. these people don't talk very clearly about what it is, you know. And they want to be able to dip and fall back.
Oh.
To use a term.
I'm troubled about the fallback.
I make it hard to follow them. Yes.
Yeah. Why do we have to live like that, sir?
Well, some people will have leadership and stewardship feel that it to their advantage to go along like that.
But
right?
No.
So what we need to do now is some of that, at least for the first 6 months, right? Start in January, is to upgrade those who are now in the system at early childhood to bring them up level 1, 2, 3, depending on how you position it.
I follow you.
Right?
Yeah. That alone. That alone would make the difference. And if you twin that with some...
No, but you can't have them there and you want to bring the children forward. And they're just there like it's what is it.
Hello, sir. Let me give you a statistic to make your point just before we leave you. About half of the early childhood teachers in Jamaica don't have any training, you know.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, got you.
That's what I'm talking about. And you can train them in groups of schools where they are in the community.
You have to train
them.
You
don't need them to go up to no fancy place.
You have to train them not only in academics, but they have training in manners and deportment.
The whole thing, the whole social thing, what it is. If you don't have a solid structure, no matter how the high thing you teach about
2 more years, 4 more years. Got you. I have to leave you. Thanks for the call. Looking forward to hear from you again. Michael Duncan, greetings. Good afternoon.
Yes, greetings, Reverend. I trust all is well. Thanks for having me on.
What a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. Michael Duncan is the President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the 10th successor to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I understand that you also have another distinction. You have a blood relative who presumed to be part of the U.S. soccer team to come to Jamaica last night.
Yes, that's my nephew. I have been training him since he was 2 years old.
Really?
And I'm happy. I told him that it was a bittersweet thing for me. I wanted him to score, but I wanted Jamaica to win.
We're bound to have these contradictions that are facing us, you know, as long as we have this extended reality of Jamaicanism that exists far beyond the rock, you know.
Of course, very much so, my friend.
Tell us about the resurgence of the Universal Negro Improvement Association that you are leading. Tell us how important it is for people in the diaspora of Afro-Caribbean, African people in the diaspora, and then afterwards we'll talk about how this can impact on life and consciousness in Jamaica.
Yes. The Marcus Garvey movement has been very important to me. I came to the United States when I was a boy. I attended high school here, and in high school I studied and learned about Garvey and Garveyism. At the tender age of 17, Garvey and Garveyism changed my life. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to make a difference as far as our people are concerned. And through the of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, I was able to do that. Garvey here is still as important as 100 years ago. Marcus Garvey and the UNIA asked the world for a few things back then and created a government. And these things that he advocated for back 100 years ago, they're more than needed right now. I look at Jamaica and I say, if Garvey and Garveyism are taught in the school, the youth then would be less likely to turn the guns on themselves. If Garvey and Garveyism are taught, we will see more of our people doing business and controlling the economic system there in Jamaica, where it benefits Jamaicans, Jamaicans for Jamaica. And this is one thing we are pushing from the banner of the UNIA, to get involved with Jamaica, intimately with the economic system, to be able to help, because Reverend, you know that any nation that relies on another for economic existence sooner or later dies.
Sure.
And Jamaica, if we don't bring Jamaica out of that dungeon, things won't look so well for us in the next 10 years. So we as Jamaicans who are living in the diaspora and we're able to financially, we need to invest in Jamaica. We need to be able to bring Jamaica products throughout the world, wherever Jamaican live. And through Garvey and Garveyism, we are doing that currently. As I said, Garvey and Garveyism are needed more than ever. 100 years ago, on a trip from London to Kingston, Mr. Garvey asked those prominent questions. Where is the black man king and his kingdom? Where are his government? Where are his people of high places? And he said he couldn't find them, therefore he's going to help us make them. We have to ask today, where are the banks and the supermarkets that we own? I can't see them, therefore we must build them. Thank you.
Yes, but I'm anxious to pick up on things you've said, Michael Duncan. You pointed out that when you were in high school in the United States, you learned about Garvey and Garveyism. Tell me how that happened. I had a bit of responsibility for the education system a few years ago, and when I tried to introduce Garvey studies, it was rejected by some who said this thing is old-fashioned, we don't need that now. And some people, unfortunately, genuinely felt that it was antithetical to Jamaicanism. You had a different experience. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that as a boy growing up, I thought I was right, and I was very conceited, and I thought that I didn't have to read because I knew everything that I had to read. But a teacher gave me the philosophy and opinion to read in high school, and she mandated me to do a report. And as I was reading the book, I had goosebumps going through my body. I started learning about ancient Kemet. I started learning about Saint Domingue, which is referred to as Haiti today. I started reading so many things. And through that book, it changed my life. It gave me an appetite for reading. And Garvey and Garveyism set the base from which I stood. And it changed my education. Through reading Garvey and Garveyism and through books, it has taken me to a place I haven't visited physically. So it made that impact on my life as a young Jamaican boy living in New York City, and I haven't turned back since. So again, I applaud you for trying to enhance the system by introducing Garvey and Garveyism. I'm sorry that the powers that be did not work with you in that fashion because it can better the lifestyle of our young ones.
Well, I agree. I had the honor, let me just share with you, that my introduction to Garvey and to the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey was when Mrs. Amy Jakes Garvey lent me for 3 weeks, Michael Duncan, her only copy of that book. Yes?
Wow, you're privileged. You're privileged, Reverend.
1963. But it just shows the distance that we have to go, and we need a strong UNIA as on behalf of the majority of people in our nation and in the diaspora. I'm identifying it broadly, the diaspora, African people at home and abroad, as Marcus Garvey would have said. We need to look and not to shy away only from the realities of embedded racism, but also of an economic system which can never give opportunity to all people, mostly people of African origin, and that is a big struggle. Are you up for that fight? Are we prepared ideologically, politically for that struggle?
Yes. It has to be done, and someone must do it. Thank God, I have been chosen to do this work. This is the work I was born to do, and this is what I am doing. We have a good UNIA branch in New York City. It's people from all over, but it's mainly Jamaicans. And we got together and put together roughly almost $2 million, and we opened our own wholesale and retail supermarket that now we are selling to over 150 Jamaican restaurants within the region, and we are controlling the system here. we have set up a farm which is called Liberty Farm in Africa, and we're looking to see what we can do we set up a farm, and we're going to make that farm one of the biggest farms on the continent, where we're going to grow food and feed Africa. Say, for example, a place like Liberia, they buy over $200 million of rice each year. We are going to set up a rice farm in Liberia that we can feed Liberia and the rest of West Africa. That's what we have to be. We have to be bold, and we have to follow the principles of Marcus Garvey. He left those black prints for us. We just have to follow them. Reverend, you have to realize we as African descent people, we have three major periods in this region. Slavery, we went through. Sharecropping, we went through. Those two periods didn't work for us. The third period in this region was Garvey and Garveyism, and it was the only time that period worked for us. We who live here in America, integration came in and destroyed all that Mr. Garvey built. What we are saying, the only period that ever worked for us in this region is Garvey and Garveyism.
Hold tight on that. Hold tight on that thought for me. Let me take a break and come right back to Michael Duncan, president of the UNIA in New York. Soon come. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge, linking with Irie Jam in New York. Interesting talk with Michael Duncan of the UNIA in New York. Michael Duncan, you're setting up a farm in Africa. We want you to set up one in Jamaica.
No, yes, definitely. And I'm working with some local groups there, and we definitely have to do that in Jamaica as well. We'll be visiting Jamaica in April, and we're looking to secure pieces of land that we're going to do that type of farming in Jamaica.
Is there a market? Is there a market for Afro-Caribbean products in the United States? Are you able to fill your supplies for the venture that you have now? What message to Jamaica can you give? Is there hope that we can one day export our products to an ethnic market, even to a crossover market in the United States? Could that be part of the reincarnation of Garvey's dream?
Yes, but right now we take a lot of products from Jamaica. Jamaica yellow yam and Scotch bonnet peppers are just two of the most dominant products, and we bring them in. Our only problem is 90% of the time these products are not being brought by Jamaica. It's being brought in by Koreans and everyone else, and we believe that Jamaicans should bring in Jamaican products. Therefore, we're establishing relationship. Currently, we ourselves, our business establishment, we're bringing in products from Jamaica, but we're aligning ourselves with Southern fruits. We're aligning ourselves with Landmark processors where we're bringing in an unlimited amount of Aki, Callaloo, Jamaican syrups, and many more products because we want to be the main bodies to bring in our products. We want to bring our products and sell to our people in this market here.
The American political scene is fractured, not least by enduring racism. How does the UNIA, how do you as a leader in the Garveyite movement align yourself? How do you see the resurgence from the kind of divisiveness and stalemate that presently exists?
Well, then you have to realize that economics changes everything. If you control your economics, you control everything else. When you control the economics, you control all the politicians, all the elected officials. We in our community here in Southeast Queens, there's a strong Jamaican community, the richest community, the fourth richest community in New York City. And the politicians, they come to us. We don't have to go to them. And everywhere we live, we must make sure economics is the order of the day. And the things that we are planning with our business, with our membership, we will get the elected officials, the politicians to do anything we want them to do. So again, economics drives everything else.
But Michael Duncan, while agreeing with you, I'm obliged to remind you, I'm sure you know, that we have many great companies and institutions in Jamaica who are headed by black people, but they don't necessarily comport their policies and their business plans for the benefit of the majority of the people,
No, and you're 100% right. And many companies here as well. So it all depends on the purpose why you're here.
Right.
For example, my purpose is to build the vision of Marcus Garvey and to build a self-reliant economic base for black people.
Yeah.
I see the Jews and I applaud them what they're doing for the Jews.
Yeah.
I see the Japanese and the Koreans doing for themselves. Yeah. We have to do the same thing for our people and not be ashamed to do it.
Who do you recruit from? What kind of person is open to the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey and to the organizing and engagement that the UNIA represents?
Well, here in New York City, what we're seeing is that because our leadership, including myself and our top leaders, we are business people, we are scholars, we can bring our message across. So you realize that we are able to recruit from the people who don't even have a high school degree to people who have masters and PhD, because we have something that they want to learn. When they come to us, when they see us presenting, they realize that we have something that they want to learn. And you have to realize that people will only follow you if you're 3 steps ahead of them. And our current leadership, that is where we are. So we have the opportunity to recruit from a cross-section of people.
So dream with me, Michael Duncan. 5 years' time, where would you think the UNIA would be? What kind of partnership, what kind of linkage with Garvey's birthplace and resting place would there ideally be between yourself and ourselves?
Well, we are going to see that we own a lot of assets and agriculture business throughout the world, especially in the New York region, in Africa, and especially in Jamaica, because you have to realize that for Jamaica has to come out of poverty, agriculture must be the force. If you look back even to ancient Kemet, it was agriculture that brought out of the dungeons. So we see us building the UNIA through a strong agriculture-based business throughout the world.
Boy, I tell you, that you have just articulated a consciousness which I wish some of our leaders in Jamaica would replicate, because we are still hoping that somehow that bringing tourists to Jamaica, important and vital as that is, will be our salvation. We are believing that if we scrape off all the topsoil or most of it, which will make agriculture impossible, that is going to be the source, or that you people will make so much money in the States that you'll continue to send home whole heap of dollars for us here. So you're right to laugh, because we need to understand that it is from the land and the people that those are God's gifts, and properly inspired by thinking such as what Mr. Garvey proposes. That is the way for prosperity. Nothing less will do. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. Reverend, may I say something to you?
Yeah.
I went to school for accounting.
Yeah,
and
really?
If I had it all over to do again,
yeah,
I would do agroscience.
Yes. Interesting. Well, that's very good, because there have been so many efforts in here and in Africa and elsewhere to put scientific agriculture, economic profitable agriculture to good purpose, and it is stubborn. It's proven difficulty, but I agree that has to be the direction, and particularly in an era of climate change. My goodness, this is the opportunity that we cannot pass by. Right now, Michael Duncan, food prices in Jamaica have gone up by 13% in the last little while, with no sign of reduction. Now, you got some stimulus money to cushion your school food prices. We haven't got that.
Wow.
Yeah, so, we listen, as we close, the bridge and particularly the public are open to the UNIA messages and to the philosophy of our first national hero, which we espouse, and we want to have all of the news and all of the views coming. I really appreciate your interview today. Thanks so much for giving of yourself to be president of the UNIA in New York. All the best to you.
Thank you, and blessings to you and the family. Have a blessed day.
Good, all the best. Michael Duncan, president of the UNIA in New York. Yeah, soon come back. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge. Beau-regard, you listening?
Yes, I'm listening, Mr. Thwaites.
Fire stuff on this program,
Yes, sir.
Nicky's going to have to cool us down. You must always give us feedback. Tell us whether we're talking about the relevant things for your audience and others. Always grateful to link with you on the Public Eye. Take care of yourself till next time.
All right, you do the same, Mr. Thwaites.
All the best. So look what we've done today. We entertained social commentator and financial analyst Ralston Hyman, telling us the truth about the Jamaican economy, and the President General of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the 10th successor to the Honorable Mosiah Garvey, Michael Duncan. Thanks to all the Public Eye and Open Mind Bridge Nation callers and listeners for tuning in on Bridge 99 FM and Irie Jam Radio, and on our live stream www.thebridge99fm.com. Thanks to producer LaFane Wigan, technical operator Richie Rainford, and the entire production team here at the Bridge 99 FM and the Irie Jam family in New York. Have a great afternoon.